This is the second part of the video, the most corrupt moderation in Roblox infection game. Here, I will be updating some allegations and providing new shocking information that I could just not believe. As mentioned in the previous video, users mentioned in this video should not be harassed nor be confronted. Let's get straight into the video. Before I correct some of the allegations mentioned in my previous video, I want to provide new information first. It is said that Mayze wants my video taken down and even threatened to take it down if I don't present myself. People have claimed that if my name were to be revealed to them, they would be unbanned or at least have their ban reduced to a month, which caused them to go asking people to get my account and meet Mayze's condition. Mayze even implied that my video is a libel, slandering their name, and that I would get in legal trouble. Just so you know, slander and libel are both strong terms, and since they did not specify which claim they believe is false, they're implying that every claim is false. Although some allegations in the previous video might not be completely true, which will be corrected later on, the rest is indeed true. Considering the implication, they'd be making a mostly slanderous claim about my evidence against them in an attempt to undermine them, playing the victim card. If you remember only _Joe from my previous video, he has been insulted by Mayze, probably regarding the video I published recently, and considering that Mayze accuses only _Joe of being me, it could explain why they insulted him. And speaking of insulting, Mayze was alleged of harassing an entire server using an announce command. Watch it for yourself. It's not confirmed whether Mayze really announced it to the whole server or messaged the person privately. They most likely did the second one, but either way, it's disgusting, unprofessional, and blatantly unnecessary regardless of the context. And to make this ironic, insulting people is a form of seeking attention, and because they've been accused of rage-baiting people and insulting them, it's clear that they're attention seekers themselves. And considering their narcissism, it could explain why they've been accusing others of seeking attention very often, further confirming their attention seeking with no doubt. They would also need to explain the use of my weapons that have been recorded by two people that I have to blur out. In the footage, you can see that only one person managed to hit the staff member, which is a head moderator, but they didn't receive any damage, and that's just a second before activating a special ability that appears to be a force field. Taking a closer look, they've inflicted 52 damage, which is enough to see a notable change on a health bar. But despite that, their health bar remains intact, implying an unfairly high health. Sage has claimed that he did not make these weapons and said that it was Douche's idea and that there are more weapons like it with each having different abilities. But this one is yet to be explained the most because this has been recorded by 3 different people and appears to be a new mod weapon that was just added. According to Sage, the weapon is not a Kira blade, and that he wasn't able to find this weapon in the game file. The weapon is very similar to a band hammer but with little to no cooldown and comes with an ability that appears to slow down and damage any player heavily in its range. Not sure about the hitbox. Keeping in mind that his melee system has a built-in parry system, the new weapon, not being part of it, cannot be countered not even with parry. The worst part is that Sage, even though he's known for making mod weapons to entertain himself, didn't even make the weapon, and if he were to make it, he would have implemented it in his system as well for knowing where the weapon is located in the game file. After a confrontation with Mayze, they refuse to explain about the said weapon, which raises the suspicion of them knowing that it's a mod weapon that was just added. What else the suspicion could be? The mod weapons are allegedly used mostly for normal combat, rarely for anything like events and such. Staff members have been seen retaliating with mod weapons on getting hit or dying despite having the option to make themselves invisible and god modded if they didn't want to die or be bothered. As well for using mod weapons to fight with other players in normal fights, sometimes with applied buffs. As I have said in the previous video, Sage tried removing mod weapons altogether and even tried making them unusable outside of events, but staff members insisted he keep the weapons as they were. Not even a single mod weapon was removed besides the black hole bomb, which was too destructive, Sage claimed. It makes the moderation some kind of pay to win, or better word, apply to win. Going back to where Mayze promised people to be unbanned if my name were to be found and handed over. Sage becomes defensive and responds to the condition by unbanning everyone and limiting the time ban to a maximum of 60 days to prevent harsher punishments, Sage claimed. This was done regarding unbanning people who have been banned unfairly and to stop people from hunting me down. However, this resulted in people freaking out about the mass unban. The mass unban included exploiters, toxic and disgusting people, and such, which Sage was aware of and said that they could be banned again. But despite that, people hated him more than he was already hated. Of course, it didn't last long before the update rolled back to its normal state with certain people still banned and everybody not so happy with Sage. Sage, being devastated by the backlash, decides to abandon his accounts and move on to create another one and start a new life. It's a drastic change, but reasonable since he doesn't want further personal attacks and rejections which would prevent him from changing and working for other games. Not to mention that some of the information about him is inaccurate, with that info claiming Sage to not have autism and having pretended to have one as an excuse for his actions. And because most of the information about him might be true, some inaccuracies get to be seen as believable, which defames Sage. Sage was lucky to get a psychological report to prove his condition, diagnosed by both a psychologist and a psychiatrist. The psychologist's note says, psychological re-evaluation upon request to update the academic record of the school where he is attending basic education, who has a previous diagnosis of mild autism spectrum disorder. For the psychiatrist, the note says, referred for specialized follow-up in Venezuela, diagnosed with a depressive episode and Asperger's. Current psychopharmacological treatment, sertraline 50 mg. This confirms that Sage indeed has a mild autism spectrum disorder, its type being the Asperger's syndrome. Unfortunately, due to the inability to really confirm without exposing highly sensitive information, people might try to come up with an excuse to undermine the claim and further defame Sage. In case of that, I will be making another video to clear things up and prevent further defamatory. With Sage leaving his accounts and starting a new life, it is safe to say that Sage has come to its downfall, at least in its name. Going back to the aftermath, Mayze switches from getting my account as a condition to unban people to demanding to make another video, clearing the said allegations to consider unbanning affected people. They were likely aware that the mass unban was due to them getting banned people to hunt me down in return for getting unbanned, which could explain the change of deal. After Sage's resignation once again, the owner tries to bring him back into the development, even telling him to ignore the community and continue with his work. But Sage, in fear of further harassment and hate from the community, refuses to come back, and that he would only come back if his conditions are met. His conditions involve removing Mayze, Riff, and other corrupt mods, and posting the videos revealing the other half-truth, piecing the truth together. However, the owner declined the condition and said that he would shut down the project instead, which could foreshadow the potential downfall of Neko Infection. This is especially true with Chaotic, the head developer, announcing their retirement due to a lack of scripters and any hope to keep the game up, along with the stress from being harassed and blamed for not keeping the game updated. The owner explains to Sage that his return wasn't for him, but rather for Chaotic, but even with that, Sage refuses to come back. Sage even made a paragraph explaining his refusal to return. I agree that people in the Neko Infection community deserve a better place, considering the unjust and strict the place must be. With how corrupt the moderation is, it's no surprise to see people afraid to report moderators since they too could get banned or just have their report denied for whatever excuse they come up with. Especially following up with only_Joe, who got banned for reporting a head moderator for abuse. And while some people might defend saying that only_Joe started the war and that the ban is reasonable, it doesn't change the fact that it's absurd to ban someone only when they started reporting. It's not yet confirmed whether only_Joe really started the war or there were some misunderstandings that were later believed to be the case. We'll have to wait until we get to uncover more truth. But until a new Neko Infection game similar to the current one is made, allowing for data, badge, and Game Pass transfer, there's nothing to move on. Unless the corruption is dealt with, which, knowing the owner, is less likely to happen, further foreshadowing the downfall of Neko Infection. After a while, there is now a certain person impersonating Sage in-game, saying things that would rather be convincing than disbelieving considering Sage's current situation. This could become a major concern since people could just make rumors about Sage or worse, impersonate him, and it would still be believable. A staff member even deleted the video exposing them from the server, allegedly, probably to prevent the truth from being revealed to the server. Now we can move on updating some allegations. If you've seen my previous video, you would have known about some experienced players being banned for no reason with no chance to appeal. Well, according to the owner and a few people, mostly staff members, these people were indeed banned with a reason, though they didn't provide a reason for the bans to confirm. And when the owner said most of it, he is implying that a few bans are unreasonable. And with the victims saying otherwise about being banned with a good reason, it raises more suspicion on the moderators, especially with no reason nor proof provided, along with the suspicion of making things up. So while we can't be sure if the victims were banned for a good reason or not, we can't trust staff members until we have a reason to. Sure, it's not uncommon for moderators to have their exclusive weapon in some games, but having an arsenal of them accessible to staff members implies that the game is just a playground for them. A theory could be that the game is so unbalanced that staff members, even Sage himself, couldn't fight normally, so they bring up mod weapons to fight or defend. Do note that staff members are defending themselves via lying by omission, that is, only providing half-truths while distorting the other half, or only pointing out allegations that they believe are false to undermine the rest which mightn't even be fully true. Because Sage doesn't want to review the document about himself and explain what actually happened, along with staff members' untrustworthiness, it's hard to uncover the whole truth and confirm some allegations. So while not all claims can be true, it's best to be aware of them.